All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rachakudash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutation to the Akim, to the elect that are scattered throughout the four corners of this earth, pushing this truth in all faith and in all sincerity. I'm the brother Shamala from the GMS Houston camp, and it's going to be another Stoic lesson. Going into a quote. All right, by Marcus Aurelius. Kind of like what I do all the time, and getting some scripture. To further expound. All right, on what the quote is talking about, because all wisdom, knowledge, understanding, comes from the Lord. Okay, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. Okay. And here is the quote right here. All right. Simple quote, quick, straight to the point. Do every act of your life as though it were the very last act of your life. All right. And I, entitled this lesson, stop living like you have unlimited time. Okay. Because, we do not. Okay. We don't know the Most High's plans for us, as far as our individual lives. How long he plans to have us right on this earth. Because you could be one of those men that could be taken early. All right, it ain't up to you. Okay. And that's why I got, Psalms 90 and 12, right? Because it speaks about how, the days of our years are three score years, right? And 10. Okay. Which are 70. All right, it's about and if by reason of strength they be 4 years, that's 80. All right, basically talking about how long that we live. And verse 12 speaks about, it says, so teach us to number our days that we may apply our hearts unto wisdom. So just to understand that we have the short time, all right, so that, we could walk how we should walk, right, according to, the will of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. All right, we don't have, a lot of time, right? So we don't have time to be procrastinating, playing around. Things, have to be taken seriously. Okay. This is James 4, and I started 13. Go to now, ye that say today or tomorrow, we will go into such a city and continue there a year and buy and sell and get gain. It says, whereas ye know not what shall be on the morrow, for what is your life? It is even a vapor that appears for a little time and then vanishes away. So it says life is only here for, a quick amount of time, really. All right, because when you look at, the time as far as how the Most High views time or how time passes in the spiritual realm, it's just very quick. Okay. Even 70, 80 years, that's not a long time. All right. And that's the end of the, the life cycle, so to speak. All right. But like I said, you don't know what the Most High got planned for you. We all want to make it, without anything happening to us, without us losing our life. That's the perfect scenario. All right. You see, some men, will be martyred. Some will, pass away, before things take place. Because men already have passed away, right, in this truth. They didn't know that their time was coming. All right, the exact date, they will have hope to make it until, to see everything play out and, all of that. Right. But hey, it is what it is, regardless. All right. Shit, man. Hey, believers, If you're a believer, bro, and you're the elect, you're gonna get your reward regardless. All right, but we like I said, we never know when things will not just even just not even speaking on death, bro. Forget death, but when these things will happen, as far as this place, society getting shut down, things get crazy. I heard things get bad. You don't know when exactly that will happen. All right, so you want to move in a way, that's what's the right word I'm looking for? That agrees, all right, with the will of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, right? And our lives, right, in the way that we live, the way that we act. All right, we got to move according to wisdom, okay? Move according to this word, right? And all faith in Yahushai, all right? And all of our dealings, okay? This is Ecclesiastes 9 and 10. Whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do it with thy might. For there is no work, nor device, nor knowledge, nor wisdom in the grave whither thou goest. So whatever we do, it says do it with your might. All right, you got to go all out. All right, I remember the Ariala told us years ago. All right, and he visited down here. That the Most High ain't wake us up. Just to be average men. All right, we ain't average. All right, we have this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, which puts us in the rankings of gods. All right, we are no longer those mortal men, that we used to be. And flesh, of course, we are, but our mind states are different. All right, we're supposed to operate like kings and gods, right? Following after this word. Okay, so most importantly, the thing that we're supposed to be doing with all our might is this truth. All right. Whether it's studying, doing your lessons, whether it's, charity, amongst brothers, all of these things, you got to go your hardest. All right. All right. And do what you have to do while you still have time. Okay. Because you don't want to be, in that mind state of, damn, I should have did this. Or I wish I didn't say that to that brother. And I wish I should have apologized to him. I wish I could have did more as far as studying and, doing work. All right. Prayed more or, showed up more. You don't want to be in that mindset. So you go all out as if tomorrow, right, you wouldn't be here. And your mindset would be a lot more different. All right. Because, people in the world always say tomorrow is not promised, right? And that's true. All right. Only thing we can live for is the now. And you can't live like tomorrow is just coming to you automatically. All right. Oh, I'll get to it. The next day, I'll study tomorrow. I'll do this. I'll do that. Bro, you don't know. So you have opportunity now. Stop fucking around. All right. Excuse my language. This is Sirach 7:36. Whatsoever thou takest in hand, remember the end. And thou shalt never do amiss. Right? You can look at this part, remember the end, multiple ways. All right. Remember the end as far as, before you do something, look at think about the consequences that may happen. All right. Remember the end, talking about death, but the end that I'm going to focus on is when Yahushua returns. All right. Like whatever you're doing in this truth, all right, whatever you're doing in your personal life, all right, always remember, all right, like is this gonna hinder me? Like, is this something that's gonna cost me my salvation? All right, if I do this particular thing, all right, or am I doing this thing good enough? Am I giving this my all? Remember the end. Remember what you want. Remember what we all want. The reward. All right, that we want to receive. Right, that crown. Right, the kingdom of heaven. All right, the everlasting life. All right, that a great inheritance. All right, Shalaki. We want our names, to be, praised for an eternity. Right, the everlasting glory. Okay, you want to be one of the men, that's written about that did what it takes, or did what it took. All right, Revelation 22 and 20 says, "He which testifies these things says, surely I come quickly." All right, amen. Even so, come, Lord Yahushua. So Yahushua is coming quickly. All right, so regardless, if you don't know if the Lord might take you early, like I said, you don't know when Yahushua is about to return. You don't know any of that. Right? You're not certain of that. All right. But the days that we do have, all right, that particular day, we know that we are here. So let me give it my all on whatever I do. All right. Righteous things, of course. Let me give it my all. All right. The things that that is gonna make us better, the things that actually counts and the things that actually matters. Right? Things that actually make a difference. Right? We don't have time, to be, too consumed in this place, just, letting, little things just overcome us. All right. And, things just get in the way, just all of this fleshly, mortal bullshit. Right. Because we better than that. We have Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, man, help us to get through. All right. So whatever problems, that enters into our path, man, you got to run through it. All right. I hope this is making sense. Okay. So 2 Peter 3:11, seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, what manner of person are you to be? And all holy conversation and godliness. All right. So seeing that, what's going to happen, and seeing that we don't have a lot of time. All right. And the hour is coming quickly. Hey, what type of person shall we be? What type of conversation or conduct, all right, shall we be in? Okay. So yeah, like I said, the title of this lesson is, stop living like we have unlimited time. All right. Hey, do what we need to be, do what needs to be done now. All right, while we have the time. All right. Like tomorrow is not promised. So hope this lesson was edified. With that, I'm gonna say shalom.